Hey guys, what's going on? Blazing here. So we're gonna go over the 9.2 rating. Keep on keywords rating healer tier list. I know it's early. We're gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna give you some speculation on what kind of healer is gonna be best. Go into specular the first ones, and then on top of that, I'll go a little bit into player different skills. And if you're a new raid leader, new guild master, you're getting into 9.2, kind of what healer you should be looking to recruit, and what you should keep your eyes out for, what might become overpowered or possibly what the race to road first will be playing, okay? So let's jump right into it. Here we go. All right, so first, right here, we got the tier list. All right, so we're going to get right into it. First one we're going to go with is straight up for the Resto Sham. The reason for that, the reason he's going to be S tier is simply due to the fact it's very easy to play. So if you're a new GM or new raid leader, you're looking for a healer, this is a very good one to pick up, because even if the player is a little bit underskilled, a little bit on the uncomfortable side with playing as a healer, it's their first time, first raid, and even if they make mistakes, you can still rely on Healing Tide. It heals for you. It's just ability you click, it heals. It also Spirit Link Totem, you throw it down, it will keep you up, as well as it brings a bunch of utility. It brings wind rushes. It also has APT Totem. If you have a mechanic or a player that's constantly dying to a mechanic, you can always run APT Totem to get that player up. So it's an easy class to play. It gets very good throughput, and if you're really good at the class, you're going to see a lot of good damage throughput from this, and as well as a massive amount of healing throughput from the player, and being able to run the double Lego going into the next tier. Vesper Totem is looking incredibly powerful. I have healers now. 99 parsing on Mythic Sylvanas running Vesper Totem, and their damage is just incredible with it. So, I mean, you can even see some Battle Shams come in next tier. So, if you're new raiding guild, definitely please recruit at Resto Sham. They bring so much capability, so much utility, so much survivability. They have Ghost Wolf, Astral Shift. They survive mechanics. They can move out of mechanics. Amazing healer, guaranteed S tier. Okay. Second, we're going to go into the Holy Paladin. We're going to work right to left here. We have Holy Paladin. Holy Paladin is not for the age of like 45 to 50-year-olds. This is a very zoomer healer class. If you're a traditional World of Warcraft player, you're a boomer, and you're going into playing Holy Paladin, you might, most likely you'll fail, because it's such a difference in player skill level. So it's already hard, right? Healing. Now you want to play as melee, hit a boss, deal damage, and now heal at the same time. A lot of time it's very difficult to perform. So if you have like a player who just has bad mechanical skill, it's gonna be a D tier. They're gonna make a lot of mistakes, and they're gonna be dead a lot of the time, because they're not used to having to micromanage, do a bunch of tasks like healing, bopping, sacking, moving out of mechanic, moving out of melee mechanic, while healing, while dealing Crusader striking. It's really overwhelming to some players. So if you have a player who gets overwhelmed, do not let them play Holy Paladin. And then on top of that, it most likely would be D tier if they don't play melee. If they're a melee player, they're not used to having DPS mindset, it'll be a D tier. Never have a Holy Priest swap to Paladin, they will be D tier. Okay? Now, if you have a zoomer, a guy who's just a super Chad, a super sweat, it could possibly go into A tier to S tier. Okay? Now, because of the skill issue, and a lot of times you have such a difference between healing and damage, it is going to be in that A tier status, just because it depends on the player who's playing it. You'll have a healer, you have a Holy Paladin who will either focus damage, or you have a Holy Paladin who will focus healing. So it's kind of like up in there which one you'll kind of get. You have to look at logs as a raid leader, kind of do your own research. But going to specular first ones, them having the ability to immune with Divine Shield, and the best raid cooldown in the game, Devotion Aura, 40 yard, 200% damage reduction for an entire raid, is just, it's a must need. I mean, there is some fights early in Prague where you will not get through a damaging ability without this ability. Especially if we look at the Dungeon Journal at Zoval. We're looking at, Pantheon, the first ones. Fights like that where the raid teams spread out a lot. You have a lot of damaging abilities coming out. And you have ground slams, ground stomps, soaks, immunities, things we have to stack with the tank to reduce how much damage the tank hits. Having that plate-wearing Divine Shield person is going to be huge. And also the capability I'll be having to pop sack on people, reduce how much damage they take, and also Blessing of Protection if someone needs to do an extra soak like on Zaval or something is huge. It's gonna be insane. But because they are in melee, sometimes they do find themselves making a lot of mistakes in movement or just getting hit by mechanics. That's why they're going to be kind of A tier. If you have a fantastic Holy Pound, it will also go up to S tier. But because of its melee status, it is going to be A tier. Sometimes they do get cucked because of the where they have to stand, and sometimes their throughput does go down depending on fights or intermissions. All right, so they are going to be A tier for that. So we're going to go on to the next healer. It is going to be a Mistweaver. Mistweaver, right now, with their current tier set, the way they're looking, the way they play, without any nerfs, they are going to be S tier. Right now, on PTR, out of all the raid tests I've done, they are going to be S tier. Unless they get nerfed. Unless they get nerfed. That's the key word here. The reason for this is just because they have so much movement, and a lot of fights I've witnessed right now, they do have a lot of movement, a lot of things going on. Having the Transcendence, having the double roll, having just all that mobility, and then on top of that, all of their HPS throughput, it's just so amazing. They have one of the best raid cooldowns, the third best raid cooldown in the game with Revival. Like, it's such a big cooldown. Anywhere in the room is pretty much going to take something from 30% HP to 90 to 80% if it crits. Like, it's just a massive heal. If you're going into a Devo, right, you Devo, after the Devo ends, you instantly pop Revival, your whole team's back up to full HP. It's so good. And then on top of that, they bring Bubble for your tanks. If the tank mechanic that really has been killing your tank, or you have a tank that's kind of underperforming, you can always give them the Bubble, and it will keep them alive through that tank mechanic. Then on top of that, they just have really good single target heals, really good AoE healing. They can heal on the move if you have a large movement fight. They just bring so much stuff to the table. It's so good. Plus, on top of that, if you don't have a Brewmaster, you don't have a Windwalker in your raid composition, raid leaders, bring in a Mistweaver. They bring Mystic Touch, they bring a little bit of damage, and they bring that throughput that's needed. So right now, current Specular, the first ones, current tuning, they're S tier by far, okay? That might even be, if it was a tier up here, I'd put them up here if I could, okay? Phenomenal healer. We'll go like that, actually, because I think they are a little bit better than our Shams. All right? So next, we're going to go into Holy Priest, all right? Holy Priest, I'm going to tell you straight up the bat, is D tier. It is literally meant for people that played vanilla WoW. It has the basics that you expect, right? Brings your fast heal, your AoE heal, your raid heal, but it doesn't bring much else to the table. They're very slow, they can't move, they don't bring any movement speeds, they don't have roll, they don't have steed, they don't have Ghost Wolf, they don't even have a DR. Like we have Stone Skin, we have Astral Shift, we have Divine Protection, Divine Shield, Bop. These guys, nothing. Except Guardian Spirit, which you click is like a 20% HP heal. Like, no damage reduction, and they don't bring any damage reduction to the raid, and they don't have a big instant heal pop. All they do is give Divine Hymn, increases the healing of your other healers, but frankly, the use of Divine Hymn to buff other healers has not been seen since Castonathra on the KT fight. Since then, we have never seen use of that spell being used since. And with the way the fights look, Zaval, Pantheon, Stolex, Artifice, a lot of movement is going on. A lot of movement. So with you having this channel a casting heal in a set group, it's just not looking that good of a healer. And Symbol of Hope, I know they try to buff it, but the minimum mana you get, and having, once again, to channel a spell, unlike our Shams that can drop a mana totem that will heal you while on the move, having the channel, a lot of time, if you're channeling and then you get a mechanic, it just is so bad. It just feels so bad. Now, if Blizzard changed it to where you could channel Divine Hymn and Symbol of Hope on the move, then I would move this probably up to B tier. But because they are a stationary healer and they don't bring much utility to the raid, they're just D tier. And Shadow Priest have Mass Dispel. So if you're running a Shadow Priest, you really don't need that. Yes, PI is great and all, but really, Why you gonna bring that when you could have an Arsham or someone else do that kind of damage with Vesper Totem to make up for that loss of PI? But you would gain more healing, more damage, right? So right now, they're going to be D tier. If you have a Holy Priest in your raid composition, raid leaders, go ahead and keep them. Because most likely, that healer is comfortable in that class and they can't play anything else. If they did play anything else, they'd probably crumble and fall through the roof, right? So just keep them on that current class if they're happy with it. Right? Resto Druids. Current setup. D tier. There's no way else to put them. Sorry, they're just bad. If I could put them in not even interested. Like, honestly, I'm going to keep them here. They're not interesting. They don't bring anything. They don't have, they literally don't have anything. And yeah, people can argue and say, oh, they can go bear form. They can do this. They can do this. You'll be giving them innervates because they're going to be running out of mana. And then on top of that, their tranquility, once again, same problem as Holy Priest. They have to plant and heal. They cannot move while healing. So you're going to be on Pantheon, casting Trank. You're going to be pushed back by the winds, or you're going to get hit by a stampede. Now you're interrupted, and then you might get stunned. Like, it's just terrible. Or the tank cucks you, and he turns Wrecking Pain into you, and now you're dead. It's just unfortunate. Really unfortunate. Okay? That you have to stand still while tranking. People can argue, yes, they have HP. Oh, yeah, Skolex is really looking really, really good because, you know, you have dot heals. It's going to be a lot of healing throughput. Let me tell you something. On Zaval, where you already know final bosses of any tier is a lot of movement, a lot of high skill needed. Having a Resto Druid that has to stand still to trank, and the only thing else you bring to the raid team is a bark skin on a tank or someone else who's dying. It just is not enough to bring to argue to bring them to a raid over running double HPOW. Right? It is just not there, in my opinion. Okay? So keep that in mind. Alright? Discipline Priest. This one, by far, I would say, is very... It has been personally such a challenge for me to say they're really good. So, if I was to... when I get to top 100, if I have a top 100 Disc Priest, they're S tier. By far. Fair, ramp, everything else. But... if you're a little bit lower, let's say you're ranked 6 to 900 US or anything like that, you're playing with healers of that caliber, they're a D tier. Like, bottom line, or if you're Holy Pally, any one of these healers swapping to disc, you're most likely going to be D tier. It is the most difficult healer in the game to maximize, to become a professional at. Why? Due to ramp timings, the way the fights work, and the way your raid leader has to work, and your healer officer has to work so much with you. And especially if you're a lower ranked guild or whatever, it is such a pain to organize these guys' healer cooldowns. My god, you're going to spend your entire Saturday night for 5 hours just going over your Disc Priest cooldowns. And then when you get into the raid on Tuesday night to pull the boss, you're going to go to do a mechanic, and you're going to ask, why did we die? I thought we had Boon on this one, or I thought we had your Light Shadow Fiend rant. He's gonna say, oh, I missed my rant 5 seconds. And then your whole raid team huffs. And then it becomes like, and then your raid team is gonna say, dude, why do we have this when we could bring a Mistweaver or Arsham? And we just link that and live. And the guy doesn't even have to heal, he just pops out and link and we live. So Disc Priest and those kind of areas of the game, I would highly suggest to raid leaders, don't even recruit them. Don't even spend your time looking for one. Because it's such a high skill cap that very rarely you're going to find a healer that does a good job. I have gone through, I'll tell you personally, I have gone through 35 Discipline Priest. None of them have made it. I have even had my Mistweaver copy over to Disc Priest, and it just is not there, and the effort to make it there, it's just not worth it when we could run Mistweaver or double HPOW and these three. It just is not there. Now, if you are top 100 and you have extremely good Discipline Priests, like I have seen them in the Race to World Force, and I've seen them like in that caliber, yes, they're S tier. They are amazing healers. If they have good ramp timings, they're fantastic at the game. They bring so much utility. They bring pain sub. They bring barrier. They bring all these tools to the game that make it so much easier for you to do those initial procs. But if you are below top 100 or even top 200, I would kind of stay away from this priest unless you know one personally that another GM sent to you because that raid team, that healer couldn't make those raid times anymore, and he's giving you his personal vouch saying, hey, this discipline priest is god tier, look at his logs, he's incredible, and he knows what he's doing. Then pick him up. But you don't want to have, in a raid environment, and morale reason, you don't want to have someone say, I missed my ramp by 10 seconds, or say, oh, you know, I thought this was my boon ramp, but I used my boon earlier, right? I used my boon earlier, right? Or you're doing the healer cooldowns and he says, oh, I ramped at 352 because that's what my ERT notes said, when he was supposed to be ramping at 344 up for the chains or something like that. You know, you see what I'm getting at here? It's a lot of communication, a lot of things to work around. It's going to frustrate your raid team a lot. And it's just, a lot of times I've noticed discipline priests, they do have a mentality of, I'm the #1 healer in the game. You need to work around me at all possibilities. And like, yeah, we're linking this Banshee's Fury, but no, I better do this because it's going to help my parse. They have big egos, and a lot of times they suck really bad. So personally, from those perspectives, top 100 US, S tier. If you're below ranked like 200 US, D tier by far, because it just requires them to have utmost skill level, and they still don't have very much movement. It's very, very scary to have a disc priest, and especially if they miss their ramp or they make a mistake, your raid team most likely will fall over. Okay, so there's the tier list for 9.2. Specular, the first ones. Most likely, I guarantee you will see these 3 in intervals of 2 to 3. I don't know which one yet in the race to world first, guaranteed. You might see one of these up here. You might see, this might be the comp for 4 healers. If they 5 heal it, you'll see double HPAL. Okay? If they 4 heal it, you'll see one of these. Or possibly, we might see double Mistweaver, 1 Arsham, and then double HPAL. We might see that as well. So we'll have to see. But this is the tier maker here for 9.2 Spectre, the first ones. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Take care. I'll see you guys next time we're doing range DPS tier list as well as melee DPS tier list. All right, go ahead, click that subscribe button for me. Peace out till next time. Okay, deuces.